Today I'm going to show you an easy trick on how to change up your electronic music drum parts.
Freebeat.
Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome to Freebeat, where I post new music related content every single day, so if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, let's get started. Today's patron shout out goes to Derek Taylor. Thank you so much. If you would like to support the channel, just head over to patreon.com/freebeat. So today, like I said, I'm showing you a really easy trick that helps you change up your drums. Now, I use this a lot when I'm dealing with music that has really defined like A and B sections, maybe a C section as well. So, you have your verses and your chorus, and you want your drums to feel familiar between those two different sections, but you still want them to be different. So what we're going to do first is come up with a drum pattern. I'm going to use the OPZ, but you can use whatever drum machine you would like, as long as you can easily switch between two different patterns and sequence those independently. So let's go ahead and come up with a pattern that will work for our chorus. Right now I've got a just blank project. I'm going to go ahead and take a kick drum, and I'm going to create something somewhat complicated but still pretty simple. We're just going to go do gak goon 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 gak, just like that. Yeah, cool. Let's go to our snare drum. We'll use that one. We're just going to put it right on 2 and 4. And then we're going to go to the hi-hat and go ahead and place some hi-hats there, just some eighth notes. Nice and simple. Let's get the click out of there. Sounds pretty standard, right? Just a run-of-the-mill pattern. Now, what if we want to go to a different section of the song and we still want the drums to maintain that feel, but we want there to be a pretty significant change in the actual notes played? Well, this is where the trick comes into play. We are going to switch the snare drum and the bass drum parts. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy our pattern, our sequence that we just made, into another slot. So now we have two instances of the same exact rhythm. If you do not have a copy and paste feature on the device you're using, just simply move into another blank slot and remake the pattern we just made. You just want to have two instances of it. So now what we're going to do is we are going to switch the bass drum part and the snare drum part. So we want to make sure we are in our second pattern, which is just the same as the first one, but we want to be in that second slot. We're going to take a look at our snare drum. So the snare drum's just on beat 2 and beat 4, just the downbeats there. So when we switch over to the kick drum track, it'll be really easy to put those in as kick drums. However, taking the kick drum track and converting that into the snare track is going to be a little more complicated because it's a little more complex of a pattern. So I like to start by taking the kick drum track and turning that into the snare drum track. So we need to look at where we have our kick drums placed. We have them on the downbeat of 1, the E of 1, and the of 1. Now, if you're unfamiliar how we count our rhythms around here, we take any 16-step sequence and we count it as 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and that's pretty common drummer lingo, just FYI. So we need to go and put the snare drum on the downbeat of 1, the E of 1, and the of 1. Remember, 1 E and So let's go do that. Let's move to our snare drum track, downbeat of 1, E of 1, and the of 1. Now we know that we can take this snare drum off of beat 2 because there's nothing on the kick drum track on beat 2. There will be shortly because we're going to swap them, remember, but right now we're copying the kick drum pattern. So speaking of the kick drum pattern, our next note is on the of 2. Remember, 1 E and 2 E and So let's move to the snare drum track and put one in right there on the of 2. Now let's move back to the kick drum track. And our last two are on the and of beat 3 and the of beat 3. 3 E and So that's nice and easy. So let's move to our snare drum track and put them right here on the and of 3 and the of 3. And let's remove that snare drum from the downbeat of beat 4. Now we can go to our kick drum track, remove all these kick drums that we put in, and remember our snare drum was simply beats 2 and 4. So 1 E and 2, downbeat of 2, E and 3 E and 4 E and Now let's listen to this. Rhythmically, it should still feel very similar to our original pattern, but sonically it is going to be quite a bit different because the snare drum is much more prominent because it is mimicking what the bass drum did in the last pattern. Let's chain these two together and listen to them. So it'll start with the original pattern, then move to the second one, and then back. How cool is that? And if you want to get creative with it, you can really embellish on whatever you'd like on either pattern. So I'm going to go to the second pattern here, go to the snare drum track. I'm going to go to page 4 of my parameters, which the fourth knob here controls the dynamics. I'm going to bring the volume of this first snare drum down. Yeah, and then I'm going to bring the volume of the second one up a bit. And let's see, this snare drum right here on the of 1, I think I'm going to put a repeat effect on it. So I'll use an OPZ step component to do that. We'll say it's going to retrigger 4 times. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And let's go down here and let's go back to page 4 and let's hold down this one right here on the of 3. Let's add some reverb to it. You know what? Let's go into this one right here on the of 2 and add a little delay. There we go. Now let's listen. That's pretty cool. Now let's chain it with our original pattern. So the intention here is that you would take the first pattern and use it standalone as your verse drums or your chorus drums. And then as we approach the next section of the song, be it the chorus or verse or whatever you didn't use the first one for, you'd switch to the second pattern, and that would either be the verse or chorus. You know, it alternates with whatever the first one was. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you guys are able to put this tip to good use. I use this all the time, swapping the bass drum with the snare drum parts when it's time for a new section of the song if I don't want things to change rhythmically, but I want them to change drastically sonically. And of course it doesn't have to be drastically. These are all just examples that I tend to use a lot. You can take the information I give you here and make it your own. That's what makes music so freaking cool. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can leave a dislike. That's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.